Hey, this is Lex, and welcome to another episode of Lipstick and Liberation, a podcast where I'll be 41 next week, year-old Black woman, talk about the political issues, the social issues, and anything that is going on today that I think relates to the struggle that women are in right now to retain our rights, to retain the autonomy on our bodies, and to retain the social right to decide who we are and what we should be without society telling us that we have a set role that we have to fulfill. So if you feel that way, or if you want to learn why women feel that way, or you just want to listen to what I have to say, welcome, thank you. I'm so grateful to have your ears and to have you guys back. The holiday season is upon us, and I wanted to start out this episode talking about the labor that women put into the holiday season to make the magic that everybody always talks about is missing nowadays and why that's happening. So as I usually say, as with my lipstick, so with misogyny, I always get the shade right. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge all the women out there who yesterday, today's Black Friday, made Thanksgiving a experience for their family. That labor, I think, is so underappreciated, and you often hear people talking about, as I said earlier, how the holidays just aren't as magical anymore as when they were when they were a kid. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that part of the reason that is because we had the labor of women that was mostly focused on making those holidays magical. Everybody's home structure is different, but I think most of us know that it was our moms, our aunts, the female family members, grandma, big mama, whoever it was that was cooking the dinner, making sure everything happened on time, getting everything together, sending out the invitations so that family knew to come together and whose house it was at. And in a lot of ways, that's still going on. But as we have more women in the workforce, as we have more women who are juggling several hats to a larger extent than they were even back in the day, some of them have decided to put down the holiday hosting hat. And I honestly can say that I don't blame them. It used to feel more like it was a duty, like there was a responsibility that somebody was supposed to do that. But I even see this with my own aunts who used to put on these events. Like some of them now, they have little part-time jobs and stuff, even as they're retired, or they are still currently working. And some of them maybe were housewives or were working less and had less responsibilities when they were younger than they do now. They might be more active in their community, working with their churches, etc., more than they were when they were younger. And so you kind of see this reticence to put on and host a big holiday because, one, it's kind of thankless. Everybody kind of expects you to do it, and it becomes like a duty. It's expensive. And a lot of times when you are doing that, you are bringing and hosting drama into your household. Like, it's a lot to take on. You got to cook all the meals, have everything ready. Sometimes you're going to have to referee family disagreements. And depending on your family, it can get kind of ugly during the holidays. So I understand why a lot of women have kind of taken a step back. And, we say we want this magic for the holidays. We need, more to make memories for the kids and stuff. But this is another place where in the evolution of the American family, as women have got more rights, that men are going to have to step up a little bit more if this is a heterosexual family we're talking about, or other members of the family are going to have to step up more and share the duty, because it's not going to work like it was before where there was one person who always hosted. We don't have that kind of stability anymore. Like, things change so quickly these days. There's not, people had jobs that were like guaranteed jobs for 30 years, good paying jobs with benefits, and we don't have that as much. People lose their jobs and get laid off quite a bit more frequently, it seems like. We certainly aren't in the best economy. So expecting the one person who had always put on the holiday to always be able to do it, that's a lot less stable than it was in the past. And so we do have to change those family dynamics. We have to understand that a lot of the stuff that has been going on has been running on the free labor of women. And not all women are willing to give up that free labor anymore. It has to be redistributed among the family. I know my family this year was doing a potluck. I chose to spend this year with a friend instead. But yeah, my family was doing a potluck. Like, that's not something normal. My aunt used to always cook, or my mom used to always cook, though she cooks less since my dad passed, which I also understand. But it kind of has not trickled down to the younger women in the family because we've grown up with a different reality. We've grown up with different expectations upon us, different amounts of freedom. And so those older family members are kind of the old guard on that. And so when it came down to the younger family doing it, they decided to do a potluck. There was nobody who felt like they should commit the time and the energy getting up at 4 a.m., to get everything started the way in the past other women did. And so I understand why people miss the old way that holidays work, but that's part of what happens when you have to change the way that social rules and what kind of rights people have. You lose things because everybody's not going to step up and pick up those things knowing that other people used to do them. So what we're watching is that transition. And as we see people trying to force us as women back into these traditional roles, those are things they're going to try to use to guilt you, is that, the kids need their mom at home making ornaments with them and slaving over a meal for 4 to 5 hours that people are going to pick over, and she's going to have to pack up all the leftovers for anyway. Like, they're going to try to guilt you back into doing these roles that were thankless and underappreciated, quite honestly, beyond the children. Because if those things were appreciated, the other adults would step up and help. They would not just leave that on your plate, but they expect that labor from you. So as time goes on, we're going to see less and less versions of that holiday, and that's part of the change we have to commit to. Like, we have to commit to having different traditions because we can't rely on the way traditions went previously when there was a different expectation of women back then than there is now. That doesn't mean we can't still make great memories. That doesn't mean we can't still have great family holidays, but that does mean we may have to look at things a little bit differently than how they were done when we were kids and be more innovative. And other people's freedom is worth the innovation and the sacrifice. There's no tradition, there's nothing in the United States of America that happens that is worth sacrificing the freedom of someone else to make it happen. And I say that down to wages. But especially, like I said, I wanted to take some time to speak on women and how they have been expected to hold up the holidays for all these years and how that's changing for them, and salute them. I salute them for putting themselves first, for putting the pressure to assist with these things back into the family and letting that fall out where it may, but not taking it upon themselves to do all this hard work, like I said, that often goes underappreciated. So to the women out there who made the holiday special this year, I hope that your labors felt valuable. I hope that it was incredible for you, an experience. I hope somebody helped. To the women who didn't, congratulations on not, buying into that or feeling guilted into that. If you have sons, I hope that you invited your sons into the kitchen. I hope that you put them to work as well, because another reason these traditions aren't passing on is because we're not including our sons in them, and we need to be including our sons and teaching our sons. Part of that is important in breaking the expectation that all men are going to have women to do all these things for them, because that's some of the stuff that's driving this desire to take rights away from women, is that men feel entitled to a woman. They think that they're supposed to have a woman that is going to do all these things and make their lives special in a way that they've never been taught how to do. So if you are a mom, if you're a woman out there, period, and you don't like the way men treat women, that is your chance. That is your opportunity to try to change things. We know as boys get older, they get sucked into these red pill spaces. Their friends get sucked into them. So your influence dwindles as they get older. But if you can do so much with them at those foundational ages between 5 and 10, but especially between 1 and 5 when the personality is developing, if you can teach them that, then you may be able to create somebody who can overcome the propaganda and the misogyny they're going to be exposed to as they get older. You'll have to stay with them. You'll have to hold them accountable, of course. But this is your opportunity. That is a great way that you can break some cycles as a woman, is making sure that your son is included in these things, that he's washing dishes, that he's helping baste the turkey, that he's in the kitchen when the cakes are being made. Like, those are things we need to be passing down to all of our children, because we don't want the expectation that only women can make holiday magic to continue to live on. We need to spread this out. So definitely wanted to, like I said, shout out the women who did do it. And next year, take that time to bring your sons into it as well if you didn't this year. Since we're talking about women and the roles that they play, I want to take a moment to talk about what happened with that blogger or podcaster, I think his name's Andrew Wilson, who was on that show. I think it's called At Whatever. I'm not really into these podcast spaces with men. I know that they exist, but I've realized just with the research I've done to do this podcast that the ones that are white Christian nationalists are so much more extreme than the casual Black misogyny podcasts. None of them are okay, and I'm definitely not co-signing any of them or any of the messages. But when I was listening to what Andrew Wilson, I believe his name was saying about Charlie on this podcast, and hearing how he spoke with her, beyond the language that he uses as far as how women should be treated, the way that he spoke to her, telling her to shut her stupid bitch mouth, etc., stuff like that, that really disturbed me, because I just feel like it's so strange that the idea that white men are trying to perpetuate that this is a type of masculinity, talking to women like that, telling them to be quiet, to shut up, and women are supposed to listen to them. It's really sick, and it's weird. And seeing them trying to spread that, along with telling women that they don't need to vote anymore, like, they're being very transparent that they're trying to put women back into a subclass. And it's so strange because, as much as the right likes to talk about other people and how they operate, it's very clear that this brand of masculinity absolutely refuses to operate without something to subjugate, whether it be women. And then after women, of course, people of color. They want a servant class. They expect a servant class, and they expect it to start in their home with who they marry. And the way he was talking to Charlie, I just really felt so much disgust that this is the kind of stuff that is influencing young minds. I'm very glad that she got back with him and proved that he was a hypocrite, as most men are. We talk about this all the time on this podcast. A lot of men do not live up to the values that they put out there about what they expect women to do. We know that they don't want women to be promiscuous, yet they're very promiscuous. Overall, they're some of the easiest people to get into bed. You could probably text a guy right now that you have had no interaction with whatsoever in a romantic way, and let him know that you want to have sex with him and get him to have sex with you. So they have these extremely high standards for everybody else, while they do whatever they want, and it doesn't reflect on how valuable they are. So he's telling people, oh, don't marry women with children, but then he's married to somebody who is divorced twice and has children with 3 men, including him. And he doesn't see a problem with that, because the goal is to always look like you are who you say you are. It's never to be that. And I think that's something that spreads across humanity, especially when we're dealing with religious spaces, honestly, which is why I don't deal with any religions that elevate a male deity, because I do think that's a common theme between the westernized ones, is that you can be a certain way, you should look to be a certain way, but you can secretly have this other life where you're not that certain way. And I talk a lot about how my talks with my father really shaped my perception of manhood. And this is in a good way, in a bad way, because I had a good bond with him and a strong bond with him, I thought I would have that kind of honesty with other men, even despite what he told me. Some of it, we know as people who are raised, some experiences you take for word from your parents, and some of it is instinctual based on how you interacted with them. So even though my dad would tell me, that men lied and stuff, I would feel like, because my relationship with my dad overall felt mostly honest. And of course, I found out about things he lied about, later on in life. But still, because I felt like that made me more likely to look at men in a favorable light when I was younger. So my dad always told me, though, that men often have these secrets that they keep about themselves. To them, it's all about appearances. In fact, they expect to have a secret life. They expect to get a wife and do all these things to look good on paper. But there's like a social contract within them as a gender that they can do all these other things on the low. And as long as you don't get caught, then nobody really cares. And if you do get caught, then people make casual excuses about you. Well, that's just what men do. Like, they are expected to be able to have these secret lives in ways that women never can. I mean, that's part of why women are kept so busy, is you can't have a secret life as a man and a husband unless your wife is taking care of your real life so that you can go live that secret life. So it also makes it hard for her to go and do the same things. And so you see the same thing here with Andrew Wilson. I mean, it's not a closed secret, but if nobody talks about it, then it's not real. It's not a part of his brand. So when she brought that up, that made his brand look fraudulent. And men don't have the problem with being fraudulent, mind you. They just don't want to be held accountable for that fraudulence. It's like I always talk about, like how white supremacy is a form of narcissism, so is misogyny. Like pretty much any abusive type of system has narcissistic features to it, because it requires the person who is at the top to be able to abuse and harm others. and misrepresent themselves as the moral and social good while never actually having to live up to the requirements to be those things. So yes, Andrew Wilson can get up every day and tell you that this is the kind of woman you should be with, but he couldn't get the kind of woman that he thinks that you should be with. So he had to settle for this one. And it begs the question that if men have to settle for certain kinds of women, they can't even get the women that they claim that they want. How can they sit there and say that women have no value when they refuse to go without women? I mean, let's talk about it. They talk about the male loneliness epidemic, but they could become friends with each other. They could live with each other. They absolutely refuse to let go of the idea that they're going to have a woman. Instead, they're trying to reprogram women into sleeping with less men, because if you sleep with less men, then you're going to have less to compare sexually. So they will be seem to be greater in bed than they actually are if you don't have a lot to compare it to. So that works in their favor. They want you to get married before your frontal lobe develops, because that works in their favor. You come out of the influence of your parents. You know, you're 18, 19. So 2-3 years later, not even having enough time to figure out what you didn't like about your parents and what you didn't like about the way that they raised you, to heal from your childhood, because you're just getting out of their influence little by little. Because a lot of people who are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, etc., still talk to their parents day to day and consult them on big decisions. So they want you to be ready to get married before you even have time to think about what your life was like from childhood, and if that's how you want to continue, if that's what you still want to believe, because they want to continue to have access to you. Everything is about having the best chance to have access to a woman. Even this push to try to take away women's right to vote and things women, have, they're trying to make sure that you have to marry a man to thrive, because the man package as a whole, when women have other options, is not the package that's moving. The supply is high, the demand is very, very, very low. And there's this scarcity mindset that's been placed on women. Like, I can tell you as a Black woman, there was a time period from the mid-90s, and I was watching a podcast or listening to a podcast that I love, Reliving Single, where Yvette Lee Bowser was on there talking about this, even when she was making Living Single in the 90s, that there was already this propaganda with Black women telling us we were not desirable, that we might need to lower our standards, maybe date a guy that was an ex-con. Like, we needed to do all these things. When it was a so-called Black woman loneliness epidemic, we were expected to lower our standards to get a husband, stop being so successful, stop getting all these professional degrees and these high-paying careers. You're making men feel insecure. Instead, focus on just getting a man. Like, people expected us to have these low standards and just go for anything. So now that it's flipped and women have jobs and women are getting divorces, and they're seeing, these guys aren't being very nice to us. They're actually not kind. In fact, all the mental issues that their father was able to enact on their mom and they watched during childhood because their mom couldn't get a divorce, now he's trying that same stuff on me, and I don't have to stay here for this. So I'm leaving. And I'm not going to be with this person for the rest of my life. I'm not going to let this person run my mental health down, run down my spirit. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to put me first. I'm going to get my kids out of this environment so my son doesn't grow up and try to do the same thing to a woman when he gets grown. Now that women are doing this, instead of telling men, hey, lower your standards. Hey, maybe you need to, work on getting a better paying career so you can attract more women. No, they're just telling men that they're so lonely and it's so sad. And it's like they want women to say, oh, well, collectively what they tried to do to Black women. Maybe we need to just settle for this guy that doesn't have a job. And maybe we need to settle with getting yelled at. It's not really abuse. People have bad arguments. That's where they want you at. But women don't have to do that. We can leave. And so they're trying to take away no-fault divorce. And they're trying to say we shouldn't be able to vote because it's the leaving that's the problem. The reason men are lonely is because women are leaving them. It's not because they cannot attract women. Women are socialized to put up with men's BS, more BS than men are socialized to put up with from women. And the fact that women are saying, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't have to do this. This doesn't mark the value of my life, because there was a time where getting married, I even felt that pressure in my 20s, and I was born in 84. Getting married was like a social step, an expectation. And with that expectation, it was decided that you weren't successful if you didn't do it. You did something wrong. There must be something wrong with her. She's got the career. She looks great. But there's got to be something wrong with her because she's not married. And oftentimes there wasn't, They just didn't want to deal with men and they didn't have to. And people made that socially disgusting. And so now that men are on this side of things, Because before the propaganda was that men don't want to get married. You have to audition for a man. You got to show a man that you are worthy of marrying. You got to show a man that you're worthy of having his kids. Like, all the pressure was on women. If this didn't happen for you, this was because you weren't good enough as a woman. But the male loneliness epidemic is not because men are not good enough as a man. It's because women aren't taking enough from men anymore. And so that's why you see what you're seeing. And ladies, be vigilant, be mindful. I always tell you guys that with who you're dating and who you are sharing your bodies with, please make sure that these are not people that think like this. Because at the end of the day, the only good men out there are the ones that are speaking out about what's going on right now. Potentially good, I should say, because like I said, a lot of them have secrets. But if a man is not talking about this, you have a man that's sitting up talking about splitting bills and trying to figure out, who pays for the first date. Can I take a woman on a walk for a first date? Men out here casually discussing taking away women's right to vote. And you got a man out here talking about that, you need to get rid of him. He's a waste of time. That's somebody who's going to be sitting by greedily waiting for them to take away your rights. So you'll be stuck with them, and you have to go on that walk for a first date because you won't be able to live anywhere without them. Stop sharing your bodies with them. If I hear a man say the wrong thing, he's done. Like, there's nothing further to discuss. You don't have a chance with me. I had a guy inbox me the other day, and he was saying that he was interested in me, and he was not black, and he had on a cowboy hat. And so I just asked him, I said, who did you vote for? And he told me he voted third party. And I said, okay, then we are not compatible and there's nothing further to talk about. And of course he got upset. And, I just said, like, if you can think you're going to sleep with black women, but you can't vote for one, then no, you're not the type of guy that I want to be around. That's also an interesting thing about rejecting men is that they want to argue with you like you're not being logical rejecting them. Like, no, I don't like you. If a man told me, based on what you're saying, we are not compatible, I don't want to be with you, thank you, have a great day. I'm not going to argue with you as a woman about why you should want me. Like, this ain't no in this essay I will situation. When somebody doesn't want you, that's it. But for a lot of men, and I'm sure a lot of women can echo this experience, they will try to argue you out of your standards or out of what you believe. Because at the end of the day, they think that they are still entitled to be with you in some way, shape, or form, whether you really like them or not. It's like whether or not you like them doesn't matter. You're still supposed to be with me. And that mindset, like I said, I really gave up dating as a whole this year. I don't think I've gone out with, maybe if I did go out with anybody, it's not memorable, but maybe it was some people in January. But other than that, I got off of dating apps and I just really started focusing back on myself and what I want to do with my career. And I've never been happier overall. Like, it was fun. I didn't say I didn't have fun dating. It was fun for a while. But once it stopped being fun, I dipped. And I like that because I'm divorced. I don't feel that pressure to get married. Like, I already got married. Somebody proposed to me, I got married. And that doesn't make me more valuable than anybody else. But I think at the time I did think that. And so once I kind of got past that, and I also saw with being a wife, how I got treated, even when I put my best foot forward, I was like, I no longer value that role. And that's the good thing. That's why I think all women should start out not valuing that role because I no longer value that role, I dated so much smarter, and I have no problem with taking a break. I have no problem with being by myself. And I find that I do more things based on what I feel and what I like, not because I want to look this way, for a certain gaze or to attract a certain person. And I don't think I openly ever thought that, but I think that pressure is always kind of there as a woman. Like, now the compliments from other women mean the most to me. Men's compliments, I kind of think a lot of men's compliments are lies, and then that's because I will see, I pay attention to what men are into, what men are doing when a man approaches me. I'll go through his page and stuff just to see what he's like. And that may be some of the hypervigilance from escaping an abusive relationship. But I often see that nobody else that they like looks like me. I don't think they're equally as what I would say in the same bracket of attractiveness. And so I realized that there's nothing really special about me to them. I'm just somebody they could potentially be with, and they don't really care about the things that, women may compliment me on. So it's very easy to ignore men and their compliments. They're very worthless. I honestly don't think a man likes me if he doesn't give me money. Anything else short of that, I think it's just the perfunctory thing that men do to try to get women's attention. And I don't really care about their attention. So it's very easy for me to not DM them back or to delete them or to block them because how are you enhancing my life? So what, you think I'm gorgeous? I am beautiful. How's that enhancing my life? Because I know as a woman, being with a man enhances his life. So if you're not coming to enhance my life, your compliments will not enhance my life. I already think I'm great. I don't need that for you. What else do you have? And I think also too, one of the things I talked about, and this podcast is getting long, so I'll kind of break things up for my next topic. But when we leave marriages, I remember seeing this week a picture of Carmelo Anthony and Lala Anthony, and they were sitting together at a game. And people were talking about, oh, you know, that's such healthy co-parenting. And I just wanted to point out, as I always point out, because I don't want women to feel pressure to hang out with men just because you were married to them and, you know, you guys shared a kid. You don't have to sit by your ex at a game. Like, Carmelo Anthony was very, very, very disrespectful to Lala Anthony. And it's like, this is one of the few ways that people expect you to have to deal with somebody who is highly disrespectful to you is through co-parenting. Like, a man could drag you to hell and back, but if you don't want to go to his family barbecue because your son's going to be there, then something's wrong with you. That's how people treat it. I always welcome women to embrace the option that you don't have to hang out with your ex-husband. He's an ex for a reason. And I know women do not divorce men lightly. So if you got rid of your husband, he did something very, very egregious. And if this was a girlfriend or a close friend that we had, we would not feel like we have to be the bigger person and go to her barbecue or, you know, her kids playing, let me go sit by her at the game. No, most women would not feel like that was expected of them because this person harmed you. But because of the way that society coddles men, we are socialized to think that because a man harmed us, that doesn't mean, you know, you guys have a kid together. You have to be the bigger person in marriage as a wife all the time. Then you get a divorce and you still have to be the bigger person. Because post-separation abuse is common. It's very common for men to treat you terribly. Look at what's happening with Cardi B. I mean, she's talking about she's fearing for her life, and she's just trying to divorce somebody. So this person's sending out all this nasty stuff, sending her new men videos of them, you know, having sex and stuff. And people are going to say because she has 3 kids with him, like, oh, next year they should be able to sit by each other at a game because they have these kids. You know, even though his behavior probably won't improve, he's not going to be a better person. He may potentially still be dangerous for her. But the people are going to expect her to eventually just let it go and hang out for the kids. And like, that is literally, I think that's a lot of the reason why a lot of men want to have kids with women, whether they want to be with them, because it's a leash on them. Not only are you connected to them and they can reach out to you and send you to take you to court about anything at any given time, but it also puts pressure on you as their ex-wife or their ex-girlfriend. No matter how your relationship ends, it puts pressure on you to have to be kind to them still. So what incentive do men have to treat women well? You can get married, you can cheat on her, mistreat her, abuse her, yell at her, scream at her. Then you can get a divorce. And just because you have kids with her, she's supposed to show up to your parties and stuff and be well behaved. Otherwise, she's not being mature. Because nobody's ever going to clock the man's maturity in the divorce. If he's still upset, they'll just say he's hurt or, you know, she has good pussy, so that's why he's acting like that. You know, it's still really your fault that your baby daddy is a nightmare towards you. But once he decides that he's got a new girl to focus on, he doesn't want to be a nightmare towards you anymore, you're supposed to go and sit and right next to him at the baseball game and laugh and giggle with him. And that's what people expect of you. That's you being mature. If you say, you know what, this man cheated on me, he exposed me potentially to STDs, he was yelling at me, my kids saw him doing all this stuff, what kind of example does it set to my children if after somebody mistreated me like this, I go and hang out with them and I spend time with them socially? Because people lie and say it's for the kid. It's not for the kid. It's literally for the comfort of the father. It's literally because they don't expect the man to do anything to make that work correctly. Just like nobody's really like, you see the women telling Offset sign those divorce papers, but you see men on here, oh, he deserved half of her money. And they don't really say too much about the stuff she's saying where he's terrorizing her. That's one of the things, like I said, that's quietly accepted in the social male contract. So here he is terrorizing her and mistreating her, but people still are going to expect at the end to expect to see them smiling in pictures together and laughing like later on, sitting with the kids. Oh, it's just water under the bridge. They just went through some things. Every time somebody say a married couple went through something, it was the man doing the putting through and the woman taking it. 9 times out of 10. Went through something, is 9 times out of 10 your man was cheating or abusive. And you decided to look the other way. You forgave it, and now y'all still married. That's going through something. And so when you get a divorce, even if he cutting up to the very last day before that next Pee Wee football game, as soon as that game is on, you're supposed to go there and laugh and smile with him because you're a mature girl. You're doing it for the kids. You're co-parenting. That's what we love to see, good co-parenting. Oh, sure, don't tell us about the stuff he's doing behind the scenes. We don't want to hear about how he's not paying his child support. We don't want to hear about how he brings the kids late to drop off some pickups, when he suspects that you're with somebody else. That's not our business. The photo op of the woman being okay with the man, that's our business. That's what we want to see. The rest of it, the man actually doing what's necessary for y'all to be cool, that's none of our business. That's how society expects things to be. That's why I always tell people, if you are getting a divorce from somebody like that, if you're a woman, this is me giving you permission. You do not have to hang out with your co-parent. You don't have to like them. It's not mature for you to put up with how they treated you and then turn around and be laughing and giggling with them. It sets a bad example for your son. It tells your son, hey, I can treat a woman any way that I want to treat her. And in the end, if I have children with her, she has to make nice with me. Is that really the message you want to continue passing on to your son? Be mindful of that. You're not being mature by hanging out with your ex-co-parent. If y'all don't really have no beef, if he didn't mistreat you, y'all just grew apart or whatever, that's your business. If he publicly mistreated you, if he put you at risk for things, if he never apologized for those things, he never sought your forgiveness, everybody knows these things happened. Your children witnessed him mistreating you. Understand that by stepping up and being the so-called bigger person that you were during the entire marriage, just like that didn't do nothing in the marriage to make him treat you with respect, is not going to do anything in the outcome of the marriage or in the aftermath of the marriage. It's just going to appease the people who want to see that, because then they don't have to hold him accountable. You are perfectly within your rights to decide you don't want to hang out with your ex-husband if you don't want to. Sometimes that's for your safety. Look at Princess and Ray J, how Ray J pulled a gun on Princess and was in jail for Thanksgiving. If they would just decide, if Princess would just decide, and I know she's probably in an abuse cycle based on this, so I know it may take her some time and some therapy to come to this. I'm not even a big Princess fan, but I'm always going to stick up for women being abused by men, because that is a power dynamic issue that is being supported by society and allowed to go on. People are out here still trying to blame her. No matter what Princess has done, that doesn't give Ray J the right to pull a gun on her. Yes, Princess has been a fool dealing with Ray J, but that doesn't mean Ray J gets to pull a gun on her. That's not okay. This is all reported by TMZ. So this is, allegedly what happened. This is why he was arrested. But I guess they got it on a live stream. But, you got to say allegedly these days. But yeah, that does not give him that right. And further, this is another thing I'm talking about, how families coddle male family members. People are giving Brandy so much slack because Ray J's on the podcast circuit crying and saying, oh, Brandy don't want to talk to me. Why would your sister want to talk to you if you out here treating your wife like that? 100% I wouldn't want to talk to you. If Ray J was my brother, I would never talk to him again. Finding out that you pulled a gun on your wife, I don't care if I like her or not, and my nieces and nephews, I have nothing else to say to you. I don't want to get together with you. I am not, and I'm very clear about that, I am not the female family member that when you go out and you mistreat women and you're horrible to women, me and you gonna sit up and laugh and kick it together after that. I feel like if you'll treat your wife like that, then you'll do anything. Looking at Patrick Beverly and how Patrick Beverly put his hands on his own sister. That kind of hatred towards women, that comes from somewhere. And a lot of times it does start at home. That's why you can't guilt men by saying, well, what if it was your sister? A lot of men would happily beat their sister up if they could and get away with it. That's why a lot of men make excuses for abusers, because a lot of men think, well, there was a time when I would have loved to hit a woman, whether they were in their mind right for it or wrong about it, which of course you never had a right to hit somebody else, if you're not defending yourself, but they can empathize with the desire to hit a woman. So they don't hold each other accountable for that. That's why it's women, especially women family members, we need to treat the men with the disgust that they deserve for that. I have no problem with Brandy not liking Ray J if she doesn't. That's her business. That's her family. But people putting pressure on her to not distance herself from him, she has every right to distance herself from him. Ray J is a sick menace. He needs to be locked up. Based on everything we're seeing, based on all the reporting, he does not need to be around children. He needs to be somewhere getting help. And every man is not able to be helped, because a lot of them don't want to take accountability for their choices. But we enable them to not take that accountability when we try to act like just because they're family, they still need to be around us when they're dangerous. A man who will pull a gun on his wife is a dangerous man. That is a person that is supposed to be the love of his life. That's supposed to be the person he loves the most. If he'll pull a gun on her, why wouldn't he pull a gun on you? Why would I want you to be around my kids? You out here pulling guns on your own children. Let's talk about how we do not do enough to hold these male family members accountable when we know that they are abusive. But this is getting long-winded. I just wanted to touch on those points. I wanted to send love to the ladies out there who made the holidays magical. I wanted to send you guys permission. If you don't know it, you do not have to put up with your ex-husband just because you have kids with them. You can parallel parent. There's books out there. Check out Amazon. You are not required to be around somebody that traumatized you beyond what you are court ordered to. I also wanted to send a shout out to Charlie for standing up to Andrew Wilson, and also point out that Andrew Wilson is a symptom of a disease that is misogyny and where they want to take us and how they want us to be able to talk to women, and that any man that's not fighting back against this currently is not worth laying on your back for it all. And ultimately, as always, I want to send you into the week thinking about things that you can do to take care of yourself. Hit these Black Friday sales, ladies. Do something for yourself. Buy something for yourself. You make the world go round. You are bringing the magic these holidays, even if it's to a smaller extent than the generations before us, because they had more time and social pressure to focus and make those things happen. I want you to take the time and feel social pressure from me to do something for yourself, to get that massage, to book that gift that you expect somebody else to get you, but probably will get wrong. Take some time to be selfish. That's what I tell you guys every week. Take some time to prioritize yourself as a woman. Stop dealing with these men who are diminishing your mental health and are not out here even trying to protect your rights as a woman. And spend some time just on you. You deserve it. You've earned it. And we need you to be strong as we face the battles ahead. Much love to you guys, and I will speak with you next time.